Ramona's World. Spelling trouble. Ramona decided to speak up. What difference does spelling make if people know what you mean? She asked. You wouldn't want people to think you sat on a couch instead of a couch, would you? Mrs. Meacham said. The class found this funny, but Ramona did not when the class laughed. She felt her face grow hot. Mrs. Meacham continued, and before lunch, and you hungry? The class laughed, harder this time. The warm day suddenly seemed warmer. Ramona decided right then that she did not like Mrs. Meacham. And this was only the second day of school. Chapter 1. Ramona spreads the news. Ramona Quimby was 9 years old. She had brown hair, brown eyes, and no cavities. She had a mother, a father, a big sister named Beatrice, who was called Beatrice by the family. And this was the exciting part, a baby sister named Roberta after her father, Robert Quimby. Look at her tiny fingernails. Ramona marveled as she looked at the sleeping Roberta and her little eyebrows. She is already a whole person, only little. Ramona couldn't wait for the first day of school so she could spread the news about her baby sister. That day finally came. It was a warm September day, and Ramona, neat and clean, with lunch bag in hand, half skipped, half hopped, scrunching through dry leaves on the sidewalk. She was early, she knew, but Ramona was the sort of girl who was always early because something might happen that she didn't want to miss. The 4th grade was going to be the best year of her life so far. Ramona was first to arrive at the bus stop in front of Mrs. Pitt's house. Mrs. Pitt came out of the front door and began sweeping her front steps. Hi, Mrs. Pitt, Ramona called out. Guess what? My baby sister is 2 months old. Good for her, said Mrs. Pitt agreeably to the baby in the neighborhood. Babies did not scatter candies or wrappers or old spelling papers on the lawn in front of her house. Ramona pretended she was playing hopscotch until her friend Howie, who was already familiar to Roberta, joined her along with other children, some with their mothers, who were excited about the first day of school. "Hi, Ramona," she said, and leaned against a tree in a strip of grass between the sidewalk and the street. She opened his lunch bag and began to eat his sandwich. Ramona knew he was doing this so he wouldn't be bothered carrying his lunch. "Little boy," Mrs. Spit called out. "Little boy, why don't you drop any papers or orange peels in front of my house and stay off my grass?" "Okay." Howie took another bite of his sandwich, and as he moved to the sidewalk, Howie was not easily excited, which Ramona sometimes found annoying. She was often excited. She liked to be excited. When the yellow bus stopped, Ramona was first on board. She plunked herself down the seat across the aisle from another fourth grader, a boy named Danny, who was wearing a white t-shirt with Trailblazers printed on it. Ramona called him Yard Ape because she thought he acted like an ape on the playground. She was glad he had not moved away during the summer. "I have a new baby sister," she informed him. Yard Ape closed his eyes and hit his forehead with the palm of his hand. "Another Ramona," he said, and groaned. Ramona refused to smile. "You have a little brother," she reminded to him. "I know," answered Yard Ape, "but we just keep him for a pet." Ramona made a face at him so he wouldn't know she liked him. When Ramona jumped off the bus at Cheddarhurst School, she greeted old friends. Most of them in new or at least clean clothes for starting the fourth grade. When she saw Janet, whom she often seen in the park during the summer, the two girls compared calluses on the palms of their hands. "Your clothes are really big," Janet said, impressed. It was true. Ramona's clothes were hard and yellow because she lived close to the park, where she often went with Beezus and her mother and Roberta on warm summer days. She worked hard at the rings, pump, 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 swing, pump, pump, swing. And by the end of the summer, she was able to travel around the lion ring and back again. "There's Suzanne!" cried Janet and ran to join her. Reluctantly, Ramona followed. "Hi, Suzanne," she said, eyeing Suzanne's short blonde curls. "Hi, Ramona," answered Suzanne. Neither girl smiled. The trouble was the grown-up Grimpies and Suzanne's parents, the Kushners, were friends. Ramona did not know what Miss Kushner said, but her own parents often said things like, "Now you be nice to Suzanne. Suzanne is such a well-behaved little girl." Or Suzanne's mother says Suzanne always sets the table without being asked. Such remarks did not endear Suzanne to Ramona. There was more. In kindergarten, Suzanne did not like Ramona, who could not resist pulling the long curls she had at the time, saying "boing" as she released them. In first grade, when the class was making owls out of paper bags, Suzanne copied Ramona's owl. The teacher held up Suzanne's owl to show the class what a splendid owl Suzanne had made. This seemed so unfair to Ramona as she crunched Suzanne's owl and found herself in big trouble. So how could anyone expect the two girls to be friends? As Ramona expected, the calluses on Suzanne's hand were so small they could scarcely be seen. Then Ramona saw a new girl who was standing alone, a new fourth grader, Ramona decided. And because she admired the girl's fair hair, she went over to her and asked, "What's your name?" "Daisy," and answered the girl. Daisy Kid. When she smiled, Ramona was saw that she was wearing bands on her teeth. "And what's your name?" Daisy asked. And Ramona told her. The bell rang, ending their conversation. On her way to the fourth grade, Ramona passed her former classroom. where the teacher was standing outside the door welcoming her new class. When she saw Ramona, she waved and said, "How's bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Ramona?" People often called Ramona bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when she was younger. She blinked her eyes, held up her hands like paws, and wiggled her bottom as if she was wagging a tail. Not that she was a fourth grader. She was too grown up for a fourth grader. She was too grown up for such babiness, so she waved and said, "Hi, Miss Whaley." Ramona's fourth grader teacher was Mrs. Meacham, a plump, cheerful woman in a green pantsuit, a blouse printed with flowers, a good sign. Ramona liked teachers who wore bright, cheerful clothes. Mrs. Meacham, Ramona decided, must be very old. Howie's father had gone to school with her when he was a boy. After inspecting her new teacher, Ramona looked at the chalkboard for spelling words. The board was blank. Another good sign. Mrs. Meacham passed out name tags and made a little speech about how learning was fun in the fourth grader and that everyone should work together to make this a great year. She then passed out papers with borders of dinosaurs, another hopeful sign. Ramona thought even though dinosaurs were more for third graders than fourth graders, Mrs. Meacham said, "So I will get to know you better. I want each of you to write a paragraph telling me about yourself." Ramona tapped her pencil on her nose. And noticed that Yard Ape, who sat across the aisle, was already writing. Apparently without having to think. Suzanne, in front of Ramona, leaned her head on her fist. A boy went to the pencil sharpener. Someone sighed. Feet shuffled. Ramona began to write. She enjoyed writing in curl size because her fourth grader teacher once said, "Ramona, your cursive is better than mine." No, she wrote fast enough. She had so much to say. "My name is Ramona Quimby. I have a baby sister. She is cute. She screams if she's hungry." Ramona paused. Screams looks particular. Maybe it was spelled in EA instead of EE. Oh well, anyone would know what she meant. She had so much to say. She did not want to waste time spelling. Sometimes I sit on the couch and told her. Ramona enjoyed writing. Her face grew flushed as she wrote faster and faster toward the dinosaur at the bottom of the page. Her last lines, not as neat as her first, were written across the dinosaur heads. She can grab my finger. Mother says to use to look like her. She says I can be her role model. Ramona squeezed a tiny sketch of baby sleeping in his face between the Brontosaurus and the Tyrannosaurus. Ramona was proud of her work. She glanced around to see what her classmates had written about themselves. She leaned forward over Suzanne's shoulder. Suzanne had written half a page in a neat cursive and was busy coloring dinosaurs neatly, of course, with crayons. Ramona read, "My name is Suzanne. My favorite color is blue. My favorite food is..." Ramona did not need to read any further. She rose from her seat to look across the aisle toward a yard ape, and she read in this neat uphill cursive. "My name is Daniel. Call me Yard Ape. I am 9 years old. I'm not married. I'm a kid and proud of it." "Me too," thought Ramona. Filled with admiration for Yard Ape, a smart boy who always earned stars or good work at the top of his papers, looked as if he was about to get into trouble. Somehow he never did. Did not in the classroom. On the playground, he ran faster, yelled louder, and kicked balls farther than any other little boys. "All right, class," said Mr. Meacham. "Pass your papers to the front. We're gonna read just here, and then we'll read more at next time. Hope you like this video, and if you liked it, please subscribe."